Hi, I'm Chase Brown. Today I will be analyzing Lean Sandwich Shop's operating stats, and I will provide some suggestions that are sure to eliminate waste and save the company some cash. Lean Sandwich Shop produces over 218,000 sandwiches every year. 10% of those sandwiches are lost to defects, such as when incorrect protein or other toppings are added, or if it is left dwelling too long and delivered cold. The Pareto chart here shows how just a few contributors are driving the majority of our poor Ado quality, and thus driving the majority of defect-derived waste. Of the top contributors, sandwiches delivered cold was by far the biggest frequent flyer. Does that sound like it could be a workflow-related issue? Using the cost of quality worksheet, we can see how all those scrap sandwiches add up to about a $120,000 hit to profitability annually. That's 120K that is definitely not going to things like jet skis and new locations of Lean Sandwich Shop. Here is a process diagram showing the sequence of stations in Lean Sandwich Shop's existing assembly line system. There are 7 stations total, with 12 total people working them at any given time. Our process time seen here is the actual amount of time spent performing value-added work in our existing system. The takt time is defined as the available time divided by customer demand. Takt time is a useful metric for establishing a minimum production pace in order to meet customer demand. Finally, our throughput per labor hour, or TPH, is defined as output per hour per total number of employees. TPH is a useful benchmark metric for showing how efficiently we are using our workforce to meet customer demand. In other words, improving TPH means saving money. If we divide the process time by our takt time, we get the optimal number of employees needed to meet average customer demand. If we add up the number of employees we have scheduled at each station in our existing workflow, we see that we have 12 employees scheduled, 2 more than we really need if our system is running efficiently. But is it even running efficiently in the first place? We know that takt time represents the minimum pace of production, which means that in order to meet customer demand, none of the individual stations can have a longer process cycle time than our takt time. As we can easily catch at a glance in our work balance chart, the process cycle time of task number 3 exceeds our takt time, representing a bottleneck in our sandwich assembly system. Ah yes, our workflow villain is unmasked at last. Not only do we have too many employees scheduled every day, we aren't even able to meet average customer demand with our existing setup. At the top, we see a table showing the amount of sandwiches observed to be dwelling in between stations. No wonder sandwiches are being delivered cold. From these snippets of manual time observations, it looks like Jared, not that Jared, is picking up all the slack by helping out elsewhere when he has downtime, while Will and Sally are standing around posting selfies on Instagram. Whether it's human downtime or dwelling work in progress, these are symptoms of workflow waste that is costing us money. So, just how much is this waste costing us? Scheduling 2 extra people per day means 20 labor hours wasted per day. This translates to around $115,000 of annual labor waste, and our setup still isn't even up to the task of meeting customer demand. Fret not, for I have a novel idea for a workflow system that will get us back on track. This work cell diagram outlines my new process. I have condensed the 7 stations down into 3 and have reduced the amount of employees staffing each station to 4 at the first station, 2 at the second station, and 3 at the third. The customer approaches the cash register at station 1A, where they place their order and pay. The order is transmitted to station 1B, where the bread is selected from an overhead bin and protein from an overhead fridge. They are combined, placed on a conveyor belt, and sent to station 2. Here, veggies and toppings are added from an overhead fridge, and then the sandwich is placed in a conveyor belt driven toaster, where it is both toasted and sent to station 3. It is here where we wrap up the order and deliver it to the customer. Please note, my work cell layout was designed with compactness in mind, combining all the steps where the customer has to physically move so they only interface with the system at station 1A, enabling it to be contained inside a small building or food truck if necessary, with the customer queue placed externally. Also note, I have combined 3 and 1A into a single station to show that the same station performs both the first and last step in the process compared to the original setup. By placing the bins and fridges overhead and by implementing a conveyor belt system for the entire process, I have removed the need for having to turn and or walk to get materials to assemble the sandwich or to send it to the next station. All of this reduces my process time, thereby lowering the optimal number of employees. At 9 employees total, I'm not quite there yet, but I have so far at least eliminated 3 compared to our original setup. Our new TPH is 6.7, a solid improvement over the original 5. Our new workflow nets us a total savings of around $172,000 in labor costs. That means there was more waste than we originally thought. And now that we have devised a more efficient system, we should expect sandwich dwell time to go away as well, effectively eliminating our most common defect of cold sandwiches. This brings our annual savings to $217,000. Okay, so we've identified several areas of waste and redesigned our workflow to eliminate bottlenecks from the system. After a 2-week sprint, we can check back to see how our new setup is operating. Before we conclude, let's just take a look at our backlog for some suggestions for the future. As mentioned before, the optimal number of employees has dropped with our new system. That means we still need to find a way to eliminate one more employee in order to bring our total number closer to the optimal number. We could use a software-based QC process at point of sale, and then use a control chart as a way to monitor trends and keep things within tolerance. I would also suggest using a first in, first out inventory system, and performing a QC check upon receiving perishable inventory from our vendors to both avoid purchasing spoiled goods and ensure we are using it when it is at its freshest. Considering spoiled toppings and protein accounted for approximately 16.7% of scrap sandwiches, this could save us about $20K annually. A fifth of the total demand throughout the 10-hour workday comes at the noon lunch hour. Demand is so great at this time that tack time is reduced to around 27 seconds, essentially doubling the required production pace. The dinner hours of 5 and 6 p.m. aren't far behind either. We will need to implement some kind of flexible buffer system to prevent the entire system from seizing up and collapsing in on itself during these times. Jared alone isn't going to be enough to save us. And finally, we need to fire Sally and Will. I've already told you my new process involves eliminating 3 employees. I say we start here. No, I'm joking. But really, if there is human downtime in our process that we are unable to otherwise eliminate, maybe we can find a way to use it for something like a midstream QC checkpoint. And the list goes on. That's it for now. I really enjoyed crafting this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.